Ciao, what's up YouTube? This is the start of a new channel for me, a new idea. Basically, I've been getting back into 40k recently, and I've been watching a lot of 40k content creators and people sharing their experiences with the hobby and hobby nightmares and tournament reports and stuff. And so I thought I should start a little side channel that's all about gaming and not video gaming, like tabletop gaming. Because that's a huge part of my life, and especially when I was a teenager, and stuff like that. So this video is dedicated to the tournament experience that was so bad that it made me quit playing Star Wars Armada. So Star Wars Armada is it was a miniatures game. I think it still exists, but I don't know if it does anymore, to be honest. It was made by Fantasy Flight Games back in 2015-ish, around that time. It was a war game. It was the one where the Star Destroyers and stuff like that. So it was a pretty fun game. It didn't get a whole lot of support from FSG, to be honest. But it was a fun game, and where I lived growing up, the local game store closest to me, they had a pretty good little community for it. But this was not that. This took place in the Canadian. It was a regionals, I think. I don't think it was a nationals tournament. It was a big tournament anyway, in Toronto in 2019, early 2019. And so, some bunch of people I used to play Armada with were coming up from Ottawa, or coming down, I guess, from Ottawa, to play, and I was living in Toronto now, so I was like, okay, I'll come along for the tournament. I hadn't played in, a while. I'd been to a few tournaments. I'd done quite well at some new tournaments, but I was very out of the meta. I bought my try-hard list from about a year beforehand, which... unfortunately, for it was the nationals, I think. No, regionals as well, maybe. I think it was the regionals. I can't remember. But it was a big tournament anyway. And I'd won my first round, but I had to drop because at the time I had classes on a Saturday, which was really shit. But so I had to drop after round one. So I beat somebody with this quite pretty tuned. It was a Vader Architects list. It was pretty good. And so I bought that because I thought, well, I should try, because I've been running a bunch of meme lists that were doing pretty well actually in previous tournaments. But I was like, you know what, I'll bring this. I'm gonna bring my A game to this tournament. And it was a 3-round 1-day event, pretty standard for for FFG. There wasn't like a cut to top 8 or anything like that, like they do with some of the other ones. So I got there, and my list, it was people who actually know about the game. I'm dredging this up now. But it was a ISD2, I believe. Darth Vader was the Admiral. It had all the bells and whistles, it had electronic countermeasures, it had... it had some... I can't remember what else you used to put on them, because Darth Vader made it so you didn't really take a lot of the upgrades you normally put on an ISD2. But there was 2 Architects, and there was... a Gazanti, and there was your pretty standard Imperial screen for the time, like Jendon, Marek, and then some other squadrons in there. Now, the meta had changed a lot since the last tournament I've been to about a year beforehand. Well, not last one, but the last big tournament that I've been to a year beforehand. And this list was terrible. Going into the tournament, this list was absolutely terrible for the meta. It could not win, really. It was very bad. Which is unfortunate, so I didn't realise that. And but it was, because the 2 ISD meta was in effect, because the Chimera expansion just come out, and so the double ISDs were really the what everyone was running, and man, this was terrible into that meta. Even the rebel lists, it didn't do well into, and so but that doesn't really matter. The reason I stopped playing is not because I did bad in the tournament; it's because of the opponents. Now, a lot of hardcore gamer type people are pretty antisocial. It's a stereotype. It's somewhat true. I mean, especially for games like this, like Magic the Gathering is probably the worst. I think 40k is the best. Most 40k players are pretty normal. And then sort of the FFG games were kind of in between. You had some real sweats, and then you had some, like, man children, basically. So this was, how old was I for this? 19, I want to say. So I wasn't a kid anymore, but I was still pretty young. I was the youngest one there, for sure. And so I showed up to round one. Round one, it was against another Imperial list, a probably pretty strong net list at the time. He was running Darth Vader as well. This is actually important for some of the cringe that took place during this game. I don't remember his name, and if I did, I wouldn't use it. I think that's kind of mean. But he was clearly somebody in the Armada community in Toronto and around, because there was people, like, I knew some of the guys I used to play Armada with in Ottawa were like this too. They'd go to lots of the tournaments, even in the States and stuff like that, and they had these, like, they did these whole, like, jerseys, like sports jerseys, they have their name and stuff. So he was wearing one of those, so I knew he was, like, somebody. My goodness, this guy, he has to have been at least 40, at least. Or close to, maybe like late 30s, but I'd say like 40, like early 40s is probably where I'd put him on the age category. And he's against me. And it's normal, like, I was a bit awkward, especially back then, but I did have the confidence of, like, I was 19, you think you know everything, you know, like, you think you're tough, you think you're, you think you're a man now when you're a kid. Like, I look at 19-year-olds now, I'm like, you actual child. But anyway, and so, basically, we got into this game, and I don't remember the missions I picked, it's so long ago now, and so, we start off. Now, obviously, Armada's a dice game. Immediately, this guy's extremely unfriendly. Now, not everybody's good in social situations, not everybody is charismatic. I'm pretty talkative when I play games, like, I'll talk a lot, like, I'll talk constantly, and like, I could probably be annoying, but, like, I'll try and make things, fun and easy for, like, the opponent, and just try and be friendly, because especially then, I used to get nervous in situations like that, so I talk a lot. This guy was just very, I don't know, just sort of, he's a bit of a dick. But okay, there's a lot of dicks in games like this, like, whatever. So we start off, and I'm winning, fairly, like, I'm doing well out the gate, and this guy is just complaining and whining and whinging like a child. I'd expect this from someone my age, maybe at the time, or younger, but really, come on, man, you're like double my age at least, and you are whining about this. Like, he's complaining about how lucky I am. Like, he's one of those people that just made the game unfun, and awkward. Learning to lose and learning to win is something this guy did not know how to do. And he was making me awkward because, like, you know how it is when you're getting some good rolls in a game, and you're kind of like, oh, like, that's pretty lucky, but it is a dice game. And I was running an Admiral that tried to take the luck of the dice out of it, because Darth Vader could, basically, for people who don't really know how the game works, ships have defense tokens. There's different dice armaments based on the ranges. So lasers are red dice, they can be fired at any range. You have ion cannons that can be fired at mid and close range, and then missiles, which can be fired at only close range. And now, ion cannons can't miss. Missiles have the highest damage output, and the red lasers were pretty inaccurate, but they could be fired at long range. Darth Vader's Admiral ability was that all your ships, when they're shooting, they can spend a defense token to reroll any number of dice, which meant that the chance of the red dice goes kind of out the window, because you are re-rolling them, right? So, like, they're going to be much better, and red dice did a lot of damage if you rolled well. They also had the accuracy icon on them that black dice didn't have, which could let you, stop your opponent from using specific defense tokens, which was important. So anyway, I was sort of doing quite well, and he was just complaining, and he's like, how lucky am I, how lucky, right? And sort of making me feel pretty, It wasn't a fun game. I was kind of getting a bit flustered maybe, and I was like, well, come on, man, like, it's just a game. Someone's gonna win, someone's gonna lose. It's a dice game, and to be honest, I wasn't even particularly lucky, right? Like, it was pretty average. To be honest, I was just outplaying him, which I understand that you don't want to be outplayed by some 19-year-old twerp when you have the jersey and you come in to win. Like, I understand that there is a pride element, but bro, when I was a kid, I was like that. Now, when I'm playing any game and I get beaten, right, like I get caught out. The other night, me and the boys, we were playing the Magic the Gathering, playing Game of Commander, and I made a dumb misplay. I got nuked because I was an idiot. I effectively had I had a card that was making it so I wouldn't take damage when I got hit. And so, like, my brother attacked me with a bunch of really big creatures, and I was like, oh, whatever, like, I don't block, right? And he was like, okay, in response, I exiled the thing that's blocking the damage. I just got nuked. I was like, oh, okay, like, he got me, right? Like, if I'd been, like, 16, I would have got annoyed, right? Like, and you'd be like, oh, that's stupid. No, at the age of 24, I'm like, well, like, you got me, man. Like, that's, that's, well played. Like, I was an idiot. I wasn't even thinking, right? Like, so that's the kind of attitude I have to games now. It's like, if you get outplayed, you got outplayed. Like, that's just the way it is. But this guy was not having that. It was all luck. It was, oh, you're such luck, it's all luck. When it wasn't. Some of it was, sure. And so people come over to see him as things go on. He's complaining about the luck to them. He's playing with that. Somebody came over, and this is how petty he was getting, right? Somebody came over and they commented, like, oh, it's the Vader mirror match, so it's interesting. Because lots of people weren't playing Vader. He was still a pretty off-meta kind of admiral, because he was quite overcosted, was the main problem with him. And he was like, yeah, but mine's a real one, though. Like, mine's a real one, is the imposter. And I was like, are you fucking 12? Like, oh yeah, I'm the real one. Bro, it's a fucking miniatures game. We're playing with toys, like, glorified at this point. Like, we've got the Vader. Just what, like, see what I mean? Like, that's how petty this grown man was being. It was unreal. And we get to the last few rounds, the last round, I think. And I'm winning, right? I am winning, but I'm kind of in a dangerous situation here. Because my flagship, which is worth a ton of points, it's got, like, all my points on it, and Vader himself is on the transport, because by this point, they banned you from putting the admirals on the flotillas and just sort of hiding them in the corner. You had to put them on an actual ship. And so the IC was the only one that really made sense because it's the toughest one to kill. Architenses could be one shot if you catch them on a bad turn, like if your dice are hot, or if they're just at not like if they're at close range, they're just dead, right? They'd be like a frigate kind of ship. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm winning on points quite handily right now. Like, he hadn't really killed anything. I think he'd killed one of the Architenses, the other one was basically out of the game, and I destroyed one of his ISDs. And my squadrons, I think, had won the squadron battle. But his Vader was still alive. I hadn't killed his flagship. I'd killed his other one. And I was like, oh no, like, if he kills my Vader here, he wins. Now, I did the math. It's extremely unlikely he's going to do it. Both Star Destroyers were kind of stuck in the middle of the board together. He went first, though. And so I was like, oh no, like, if he kills my flagship here, I lose. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, here's the thing, though. Mathematically, it's extremely unlikely that he's going to do it. Like, the amount of hit points I had left and shields and, like, the defense tokens I had, like, he has to roll pretty well, like, abnormally well, to be able to win this. And he has Vader, so, like, obviously I factor that by calculations. Like, he can spend his defense tokens to change that. And I was like, but I don't think he has. It's like, I think this is fairly in the bag, and he just gets the god roll, right? He re-rolls, and he's got it, right? I was like, I can't stop him. I was like, oh, like, man, thinking to myself, like, oh shit, like, it's gone, it's done, the game's done. And then he blows my flagship up, and he's winning now. Now his flagship is basically one tap away, because I just need to deactivate with my one and just blow him out of the water, or out of space, I guess it's Star Wars, but my other Architects was slightly too far away. It was at long range, and I was like, I just, without Vader. Right, like, with the Architects, they can't do anything without Vader. Like, they're too inaccurate. Because they only fired red dice, basically, that was the thing. So Vader made it so they could, like, really, like, with the Vader Architects, like, those guys, if they concentrate fire, they could strip your shields and start just hammering a hole, like, a tiny ship worth, like, a fraction of your points, right? They were quite deadly. But without Vader, they were just right there, like, I was like, oh, bugger. And suddenly, like a dime, he changes. He's, like, all amazing. He's gloating to me about his strategy, his amazing strategy. And I was like, and I made some comment. I said, I was actually kind of pissed off by this point. I was just like to him, that was lucky. I said it. Should I have said it? Maybe. But, and so he was like, no, that's not lucky. And I was like, I felt like saying to him, like, listen, you twat. You've been bitching to me, literally bitching, like a 12-year-old, right? The whole game about how lucky I am, right? It's like, and now you get the god roll, but you won't even admit that was a god roll, right? You just say that was your strategy. You are an absolute twat. And I thought to myself, I'm like, what am I even doing here? I paid like $30 or whatever it was, and I'm spending the day to come play, and I was just like, this guy's been an absolute twat to me the whole game. He's so unfriendly. Right, and I was just like, whatever. So the game ended. I said, good game, shake his hands back up, right, fill in the score sheet. And it ended up with him getting quite a decisive victory in the end because I just needed to kill his last ship. And he would have lost on default, right? My Architect shot at his ISD, but it like did a hit point or something to it and stripped a shield maybe or something. It couldn't seal the deal. And I thought to myself, man, that was a bad game one. It was a close game. It was a really close game. He wouldn't even admit that it was close, though, right? I was like, it's a good game, it's close, man. And he made some comments in it. I was like, it was, though. It's like, but fine. It's like, you want to be like that. Whatever. So, I think to myself, okay, fine. I lose a lot of round ones in tournaments. I submarine a lot when I used to go to tournaments, right? You lose game 1, then you win game 2 and 3, right? You got, right? That's the way it is. And I thought to myself, okay. New game, not to be perturbed. Like, I've been positive. We're going to game 2. Man, I should have just dropped. Like, okay, so I go in to game 2, and it's against this dude. I don't remember his name. He was from out of town, so he wasn't like from the local guys. And he was playing Rebels. He was playing this pretty generic Rebel like list. I don't remember. I don't even remember the mission. Oh yes, I do. I do remember the mission with this one because it's quite important actually. It was the one where every ship had a token on it, and the first time they shot, they had to spend it, and they added extra attack dice. Opening salvo, I think it was called. That was the mission because this is important. This is important to this story. And I get to this guy, and I say, "Hey man, how you doing? Whatever." And I immediately realise this guy, something's up with this guy. Like, he's on the spectrum or something. That's not meant to be disparaging, right? But like, he just is, right? Or something. English wasn't his first language. He didn't speak very good English. Okay. Like, he was from Eastern Europe, I'd probably say, like, judging by the accent. I thought to myself, okay, whatever. He's, like, that's okay. I know, I was in Toronto, I was in film school. Everyone was from another country, right? It's like, so, like, I knew people from all over the world. It was an absolute tapestry. So, for me, I was like, it's not that weird to have a guy who doesn't speak good English, right? I was like, I'll speak, I won't speak, like, fancy, and I'll just be, like, very to the point and try and communicate, like, easily with him and whatever. He won't even look at me. He won't even make eye contact with me. Right, he's just looking everywhere, and I'm like, what is this guy's problem? Like, he's just been so unfriendly and kind of aggressive, actually. Now, I'm a fairly big guy, and back then, when I was, like, 18, 19, I was, like, dedicated in the gym. I'm a fatso now. I'm I'm on my way to a dad bod at this point, but back then, I was pretty ripped. I honestly, like, I used to work out properly. I used to diet pretty well, actually. And so I was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? Very aggressive and very unfriendly, like just really unfriendly. I don't understand what happened this tournament. Like everyone was so unfriendly to me, and so I'm trying to be whatever. So we start the game. He is constantly just singing. Like when I'm trying to talk to him, he just starts singing. I was like, "What you like? Come on, man! We're trying to play a game, and you're singing Life of Brian. Can you stop?" Well, I didn't say that to him. I was just like, "Okay, we do this." And he's just singing away in his own little world. I was like, "What the hell is happening right now?" And so we go in, and immediately problems start. Because this guy is very bad at the game. Now, he did beat me, but as I said, my list was off meta. I hadn't really played in a while. He kept forgetting to do the opening salvo. Now, to be fair, I didn't correct him, and a lot of the time I didn't notice either, but it's not my responsibility to remember your abilities. And so we would literally be doing my turn, and he'd be like, "Oh, I forgot to roll the extra dice." I'd be like, "What?" I'd be like, and then he'd be very aggressive though, but he's like, "You haven't let me do it," and I was like, "Well, and I should have just called a TO over. I should have called a TO over, because this could change the outcome. If he destroys a ship when I've already activated it, what's the rules?" I should have called the TO over and said, "Listen, the first time he did it, I let him go. Obviously, he let that go. He did it again though, and I was like, the same thing with a different ship, obviously, and I was like, I should have called the TO, but I didn't." Anyways, it goes on. He continues to be extremely unfriendly throughout the whole thing. And in the end, I don't think I shook my hand at the end. I said to myself, like, what is this? What is this tournament? I've gone against a man-child, and I've gone against this, like, I don't know, like, whatever this guy is. And I was just out of it. I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I could be doing anything else right now, right? Like, I could be at the gym. I could be working on my school projects or whatever I am. I could be doing something productive in my life. And so I'm just so, like, I'm so done with this point. I was just like, you know what? Everyone's been rude to me. My list is terrible. Like, it's just not for the meta, which was my fault for not researching it. And so I go into game 3 finally, and I played against a really nice guy. He was a really nice guy. He was an older gentleman. Well, not old, but like, I'd say like 45 probably. A lot older than I was. Really nice guy. He was also down his luck. Like, he'd lost both games too. We get into game 3. We're like, oh man, it's not going well, right? Like, we're having a bad tournament, right? We're playing against each other. And he beats me, because of course he does, because my list was terrible. And I was like, but it was a really nice game. It was a really nice way to end the game. So this isn't all doom and gloom. It did have a happy ending. I was like, okay, shook hands, we had a laugh, and ultimately I was like, at least there's some good people in this game. And I never played Armada again. After that tournament, I'm done. I said, I don't have time. I was playing 40k at the time. I was playing Magic at the time too. My main social group was a Magic group at the time, so that was why I was playing a lot of Magic. But I also played 40k. I was in the 40k league in Toronto. A good friend of mine at the time, we used to play 40k on the weekends, stuff like that, right? Like it was like 40k was a big part of it, and I wasn't playing X-Wing at the time. I wasn't doing X-Wing yet. I was looking at getting back into X-Wing, but I hadn't done that yet. And I was doing it, and I was just like, it's not worth it. If these are the people I'm playing in Toronto, now I've been to tournaments before and I've never ran into any of this, but I was like, it's not worth it. These people are so unfriendly, rude, downright rude, dismissive, just like really. I don't like. I was surprised, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with Armada. I don't. It's. There was no enjoyment in this tournament really until the last game, I guess. You know, these people made it actively unfun. You can lose a game and still have a good time, or still enjoy yourself. At least when you're playing it. These people made it impossible to do that. And so I was like, okay, I'm done with Armada. And I don't know, a few months later, I was in the X-Wing League, the Toronto one, and I was talking to some of the guys that were bigger than Armada, and they said to me, it's like, oh, you're going to come back and play Armada again? And I said to them, listen, honestly, no. No, I'm not. I said I had a really bad experience with some of the local guys. I don't have time. Like, I don't think so, I'm sorry. And so, yeah, there it is. That is the tournament that made me quit an entire game. Did I overreact? No. I mean, like, I was extremely busy. I was a full-time student. I had a bunch of stuff going on. I was crazy busy at the time. Like, and I was like, you know what, it's not worth it. We were getting ready to pitch, we'd pitched thesis projects. We were getting ready to shoot our thesis projects in film school. And I was like, no, I do not have time for this. And I never went back. I still have all the Armada stuff somewhere. I think it's in my parents' basement somewhere. But if you heard that was my washing machine in the house. Yeah, so that is the reason why I no longer play Armada. The worst tournament I've ever been to. Yeah. Let me know any of your gaming horror stories in the comments. And like, share, subscribe if you want to see more sort of just tales from a tabletop gamer, I guess. Yeah. Thanks.